Howdy, folks. I'm Noisy Naga, non-stop nagging naughty newts.
I'm Amber.
And here are more noisy newts for us to nag. Don't ask me why we're doing it. I guess we just like doing it. So let's get started. Naga? I think it's Naga. Probably didn't pronounce it right. Alright, folks, and our first letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Letting My Coworker Buy Me a Snack at the End of My Shift? I'm a 24-year-old female, and I work at Publix part-time to pay for grad school. Yesterday, I was called in because we were short-staffed, so I closed as a bagger. The closing cashier that I bagged for went to go get a snack before closing his register and asked if I wanted anything. This gesture isn't out of the ordinary. I have offered closing baggers before if they wanted anything, and people have offered to buy others candy or anything as they were closing. I accepted because I wanted a drink. It had been a long day. Since I was pleased by the nice gesture of getting a favorite drink for free, I told my partner, a 28-year-old male, about it, to which he immediately said it's flirting. I tried to explain the situation, but he insists that I'm just willing to take gifts from random guys. He said that it doesn't matter that the coworker who bought my soda water is in a relationship, that it was a small gesture that can escalate. For some more context, the only things that I said to the male coworker who offered me something that day was that if we could switch shifts, then later some brief small talk about how we need stools. I have minimal engagement with my coworkers. It's just work or small talk. It's frustrating to me because I want to validate his feelings since he's been cheated on before, but I also don't want to operate under the rules made out of paranoia. All right, folks, what do you think?
No, absolutely not the jerk. OP's partner needs to work on his jealousy and insecurity. It is very normal for coworkers and, acquaintances to offer one another a simple, like, hey, you want this type of thing? Like, you don't have to have the hots for someone to offer a simple, nice gesture. It sounds like it's a reciprocal relationship that people at this store do.
I mean, is he gonna complain if somebody gives her a stick of gum? Is it cheating if they give him a stick of gum? I mean, low value gifts like this, and especially like food gifts, generally aren't seen as like a flirting type of relationship, right? If he had been like, here, have some diamond earrings. Yeah, it's a little bit of a different situation. Those are valuable, assets that, tend to be given to romantic partners, right? Not quite the same thing as a soda.
Every time your mom offers to buy you a soda, she's flirting with you.
Yeah, so I mean, this is a little bit on the extreme end of things. Like, I think that they certainly can have feelings of insecurity, but that's something that they need to work on in therapy with the guidance of a therapist, right? And that's, again, I don't think OP's doing anything to dismiss their, partner's feelings. They're allowed to have them, but this is on the level of controlling partner type of thing, right?
Well, it is. It's one thing to have a feeling and know you need to work on it. It's another thing to try and make your partner not accept small gifts from coworkers.
Yeah. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And West Armadillo says, not the jerk, but if you stay in this relationship, you will be accused of cheating over and over again. I can guarantee it. And Bishop Redline says, hey, would you like a can of soda? Yes, thank you. Okay, I'll be right back. Meet me in my van. If only it was that easy. Seriously, it's time to think about this relationship. Anon says, soda is apparently the gateway food to prostitution. OP's boyfriend is waving his red flag like he's in Les Mis. And Molly Meow says, what is with kindness is equal to flirting with people, not the jerk. And Life with Six Cats says, because people like that wouldn't do something nice, like buy a coworker a snack without expecting something in return.
I mean, I think that's a really important point, is that if the boyfriend is thinking like that, it raises some questions about how he sees other people in these gestures.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually a really good point, because he's kind of saying more about his view on things. Mm-hmm. And this says more about him than it does about OP and and their coworkers. Alright folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Quitting on the Spot After My Boss Told Me to Stay for a 12-hour plus shift when I already said that I had to pick up my kids? I have worked under my boss for about a year. At first, things were fine. I liked my coworkers, and the work itself was manageable. Then my boss started making sudden demands, like requiring weekend shifts and threatening write-ups if we didn't show up. Later in a meeting, he yelled at people, called some of them slow and terrible, and blamed others for mistakes that were actually his. He often insults employees, even people who already left, calling them names like thief or whore. Lately, I've been coming in early so that I can leave at my scheduled time of 2:30 to pick up my kids from school. I still work overtime almost daily, but that upset him. He told me that my lazy attitude had to stop and that I needed to work 10 to 12 hours a day. I agreed to start earlier so that I could leave at 2:30. That worked for a couple of days, but then at 11 one morning, he told me that I needed to stay until 6. I reminded him that I had to leave at 2:30, and he said that I needed to figure out a different way to get my kids or I would get written up. At that point, I quit immediately. Some coworkers say that I was right. Others say that I should have just taken the write-up or found a way to make it work. So am I the jerk for quitting on the spot? Alright folks, what do you think?
No, not the jerk. This sounds like a hostile work environment, and you don't owe the company anything. What the boss was doing is reprehensible, and OP had specific requirements that they needed to work their schedule around, and was willing to accommodate you need to work 10 to 12 hours, even though that's much longer than a typical work day. And but they could only work in a certain time frame. And the boss's behavior right there, it just sounds like he's a person on a power trip who just wants to grind everyone else down and bend them to his will.
So what I would have to say about this, OP, is report him to your local labor department, right? The Department of Labor or whatever, because what he's doing here is actually illegal, right? Even if you are like a worker who is salaried, then there are still limits on the amount of time that you work per day, right? And if you are working overtime, then hopefully they are paying you that overtime work, because more than 8 hours, they need to pay you overtime, right? So I would say that this is definitely one of those situations where you should find out what your local labor laws have to say and actually sue the company as opposed to quitting, right? And also, I don't think that OP was wise with quitting, because oftentimes if they fire you, then they have to pay you like unemployment and stuff like that. But I think like this whole write-up thing is just like an empty threat in a lot of ways. What is he going to do? Is he going to actually fire OP? I think that OP would be wise to have, taken the write-up and just waited and looked for another job while they were there. But I mean, I can also understand their frustration with the whole job and just wanting to get out of there if they just weren't enjoying the work environment, right? So definitely, I would think fighting this legally would be a good course of action, and I hope OP talks to some kind of labor lawyer, a lawyer who specializes in the labor laws and stuff like that, because I'm pretty sure that what the company's doing here is illegal. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not a lawyer here, but it seems pretty questionable.
It does seem questionable.
But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And IB00826 says, why have you not gone to HR about your manager? And Saj Morja says, bold of you to assume that that place has an HR. And Steinerific says, exactly, if you're in the US, what he is doing is most likely illegal. And Ryan Taksh says, not the jerk, and I genuinely don't see how you could possibly be called the jerk in this situation. You have every right to quit. Sounds like your boss's problem now. And Sweaty Seat 8878 says, not the jerk. Definitely right. What makes you think that this would change? The only issue is unemployment. But generally, if a parent makes a reasonable decision to resign based on childcare, you would still be eligible. Well, that's good to know. Alright folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Refusing to Cover Endless Extra Shifts at Work When My Manager Says that it's just being a team player? I'm a 21-year-old female and I work part-time and I also go to school. At my job, my manager constantly pressures me to cover extra shifts whenever someone calls out. At first, I agreed a couple of times because I didn't want to look lazy or unhelpful. But now it feels like I've become the go-to backup for the entire store. Well, last week I said no because I had an important exam and my manager told me that I was letting the team down. And the real team players sacrifice when it's needed. The thing is that I'm already working way more hours than I signed up for. And I see other coworkers refusing all the time without consequences. Some of my coworkers have started giving me side comments about not caring about the team. I honestly don't mind helping out once in a while, but I can't be the on-call 24/7 person when I'm also trying to finish school. So am I the jerk for refusing to keep covering extra shifts even if it makes me look selfish? All right, folks, what do you think?
Not the jerk. Those other people who are saying you're not a team player, they can step up and take those shifts. Like, there's a reason why this is all being put on OP, and they're just scapegoating OP so they won't have to be pushed into these extra shifts.
Why is it that the team players who are calling out of work aren't being selfish and, whatnot, right? I can understand calling out every once in a while, but this sounds like it's happening all the time, right? And if it's happening all the time, then those people who are doing this aren't being team players. And chances are the coworkers who are giving OP these side comments are the same ones who are calling out and are seeing that their free vacation day is going away here soon, right? So no, I don't think that OP's in the wrong here. If anything, I think that they are being taken advantage of and they need to put an end to that.
Yeah, well, it sounds like OP might be one of the younger employees, and so they're kind of exploiting that.
Yeah, but let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And Barry Burr says, is anyone on the team pointing out that the people who are calling off their assigned shifts are the ones who are letting the team down? That's where the manager needs to focus, not on the workers who don't want to do extra shifts. And OP replies, exactly. That's what I keep thinking. The issue isn't people saying no, it's others bailing on their actual shifts, and somehow I'm the one getting blamed. And Tiger Raven Lily says, not the jerk, you're only required to cover the shifts that you are assigned. You have every right to say no when you have to deal with school or anything. They are not entitled to your time unless you're on the schedule. I would document everything that he/she are saying to you because you might be able to, if it gets really bad, report him or her for workplace harassment. And OP replies, good point. I've actually started keeping track of what's being said just in case it escalates. All right, folks, and our next letter is titled, Today I Messed Up by Forgetting That My Webcam Was On During a Work Call. So I was working from home and my team does these weekly check-ins. I usually just keep my camera off and stay quiet unless someone asks me something. Well, today, I guess that Zoom defaulted to camera on because of the update and I had no idea. Well, I was chilling in my hoodie, eating cold pizza straight out of the box like some kind of cave troll, half listening, half scrolling on Reddit. At one point, I leaned back, put the slice on my chest like a plate, and started picking at the cheese while laying almost flat in my chair. Apparently, everyone saw the whole thing. My boss goes, you comfortable there? And I just froze. I looked at my screen, and sure enough, my face, my greasy slice, my whole shameful posture was in front and center. I panicked, and instead of turning off the camera like a normal human, I closed my laptop, which disconnected me completely. I had to awkwardly rejoin 5 minutes later and pretend that my Wi-Fi crashed. They all know that it didn't. All right, folks, what do you think?
I mean, it's a, hopefully OP will find this story amusing here soon.
Yeah, I mean, as long as this doesn't cause them to get fired or anything like that, but generally it seems like it's probably going to be fine. I mean, I did read some of the comments and the boss is kind of giving OP a little bit of a ribbing, so it doesn't sound like it's actually anything that's serious. It's just more like, haha, Pete makes comments about pizza, and that's just it. It's like, you just never know when your camera is on. So it's always best to treat it like it is on when you're in a meeting, Same thing goes with screen sharing. Just assume that your screen is always being shared when you're in a meeting. And that your microphone is always on. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And Fluffy Warning 9206 says, at least you weren't watching something worse when the camera came on. Cold pizza chest buffet is honestly pretty tame. And OP replies, my boss has already made 2 pizza jokes in chat since, so yeah, I'll never live this down. And in reply to that, Deltarune says, The thing about pizza jokes is that it's all in the delivery. And Mr. Domer07 says, and they can't be too cheesy either. And Salsa Nacho says, at this point, just own it. At the next weekly check-in, turn your camera on and eat pizza. Power move.
Yeah, it's like stare straight into the camera while you eat your pizza.
All right, folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here, and Amber, she has a joke.
What did the owl say about the corn maze?
The owl said that it was a hoot.
Yes. And it's National Pumpkin Seed Day.
Oh.
And also World Vegetarian Day.
So, pumpkin seeds are a vegetarian food, just to let you know. And I have Mega Mint. Alright folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Happy wonderful Wednesday, Hump Day, Friday, Junior's Eve. Amber, we need some kind of moral advice and or guidance, and please have it a haiku for Haiku Wednesday.
A soda is not secret flirting or cheating. Fix your jealousy.
I like it. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye.